Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. We got a whole bunch of things in this report. We have drought reports. We have Bill Gates shadiness. Yes, what's he up to this time? We have Texas pushing back on wokeness. We have hacking updates. News that you may have missed in the last few days. We're going to jump through all of it, folks, and it all starts here at the website, thepoplarreport.com. If you haven't been checking it out, you might want to start checking it out. It's the Drudge Report, but without the wokeness, without that agenda being pushed. These are a lot of the news stories I cover on this channel, but I can't possibly cover all of them on the YouTube channel, so they are showing up here on the website. Let's jump through these, but before we jump into the news items, I do want to go through the drought report. A lot of you folks are familiar with the drought report here, drought monitor. On the right side of your screen here is last week's drought monitor, and then this week's is over here on the left, over here, right? So this is this week's, and at first it doesn't look too much worse, but when you start looking at the brown in this zone right here, you'll see that it's gotten a lot worse. The yellow has spread, but particularly brown, which is the first level of official drought. Yellow is unusually dry, and brown goes into moderate drought. And that's where we are, folks. We are now in moderate drought, and that is not good news. We now have 57% of the corn in the United States is in drought zones in brown. 51% of the soybeans grown in the United States is now in drought zones, brown, orange, or red. And it is getting worse out there. All right, so let's get into the top stories here. So the U.S. Department of Energy, this is getting over to the major hack that we had. Over the last number of days, the U.S. government has come out and said that they have a major hack that has happened. Hundreds and hundreds of companies, as well as government agencies, have been targeted in the cyber attack. Basically, they have a file transferring software that they use. A lot of these called Move It, and apparently it's like a Dropbox or a Google Drive, but for companies to share big files back and forth. And so they've all been using this, and these hackers have exploited the system and have accessed those documents. And it looks like they are actually holding these companies hostage by having their data, these payroll and other databases. So we've been having it trickle out who has been affected. And the first one that we've heard from the U.S. government is the U.S. Department of Energy has two main nuke sites that have been affected by this: Oak Ridge, and then also we have a nuclear waste facility in New Mexico. Oak Ridge is one of the three Manhattan Project sites, one of the original sites for the construction of nuclear weapons. It is now used for, we can't see exactly what they do for it, but apparently what they do is they disassemble nuclear weapons and refurbish them and then send them back out, potentially testing them. They're not exactly super clear on that. But then also the waste isolation, that's down in Tennessee, by the way. The waste isolation pilot plant is down in New Mexico, and that's where they're trying to do more of the long-term storage of nuclear waste, particularly from Defense Department nuclear weapons. So both those sites have a whole bunch of data that got stolen and is being held hostage. So I think we're less concerned there about the information, disappearing and, being deleted. We have more concern about that information actually getting sent to people and countries and such that we don't want them to have. There is a major recall out there, major recall of frozen strawberries. And when I say major, I'm talking Walmart, Costco, H-E-B, and we're not talking about some organic stuff that maybe very few people buy. We're talking about GV brand frozen strawberries. And then you start going through them. Great value mixed fruit, 4-pound bags, strawberries. If you bought frozen strawberries from Walmart and generic, you need to be paying attention to this. Also, Raider Farms organic, and then that's from Costco, and Raider Farms organic berry trio from HEB. And then there's a number of other, including Kirkland Signature. This is nationwide across the United States, so be aware of that. When you start looking at the states affected, pretty much everybody. This is the FDA website on the recall. This is a major recall, and it's due to hepatitis A being in the strawberries, and especially since a lot of people will eat the strawberries without cooking. That makes this even more serious, as opposed to a lot of the other vegetables and things like that, where people normally cook them before eating them. And this is just coming out this week. So if you have frozen strawberries, make sure that you're checking in to whether yours have been recalled, and take those back to the store and get them replaced with some that are not. Okay. And be safe out there, folks. Okay. So U.S. national debt has now exceeded $32 trillion. I put up on here on the website a little note here that 4.3 trillion of that have been added since Biden has been inaugurated. So just to give you a flavor for how fast we're spending money, just over 2 years, another 4.3 trillion have been added to the national debt, which is absolutely out of control. It is worse than the worst finances of anyone you know. Think about that. The most deadbeat person you know financially, the U.S. government is actually worse at managing money. What is Bill Gates up to? Well, let's see. He has given a grant of $50 million to a Chinese university that conducts what? Chinese Communist Party military research. It's just this guy. Everything he does, there's some people in the world that are so toxic that it just seems like everything they do is shady and is just like the exact opposite of what you would expect people to do. This university is military through and through, doing classified military research for the Chinese government. They train students for China's nuclear weapons program. It's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing with these people? On the far other side of the spectrum, Texas Governor Abbott, glad to see he's doing something here. He has closed down all the diversity offices at the universities in Texas. Now, I am absolutely all for diversity. I think that people who think differently, people who look differently, should all be given equal access to education and opportunities to better themselves. But we all have come to the conclusion, and we all, if we're paying attention, know that these diversity offices are actually now doing the direct opposite. They are curating who is allowed to have an education and making sure that the education that people receive is more like indoctrination. And in addition to that, it is pushing heavily to remove diversity from American universities. They want everybody to look the same. They want everybody to only associate with people that have their same skin color. They want to have black graduations and white graduations. They want to bring in a whole new level of segregation like we haven't seen since the last time Democrats had a go in the Deep South, right? Now, here's an interesting story over on Reddit. Many of you probably don't do Reddit much. I do a little bit on Reddit because there's some good information out there. There's some good places where preppers are on Reddit, and some other folks like the Wall Street Silver folks. There's some good stuff out there. And with that, Reddit is just a bastion of liberality, though. They're just woke through the core, and in addition to that, Reddit is trying to be this major billion-dollar company, and so they've been living on the promise that they could eventually monetize all the traffic that they have. The problem is all the people who are creating content on Reddit don't get paid. So particularly the moderators that are keeping it clean and keeping the really bad stuff off there. And in addition to that, they are the moderators who have really sunk tons and tons of time into building up Reddit to what it is, where there are a lot of chat rooms that are actually quite useful for just as message boards for people. With all that, Reddit has come out and they've basically kind of declared war on their base. And it's interesting because they're going to charge money for third-party apps to access the data. But a lot of these third-party apps are either making very little money, or they are not making money off of these things, so that moderators can more easily manage their communities. And so all these third-party apps are like, well, we're going to have to go out of business then, because we can't do that. We can't pay $40 million. One of the apps was talking about that, where they basically break even now, and Reddit is demanding that they pay them $40 million a year just to access the data. It's just like, so basically all the moderators are fighting back. The moderators are like, fine, we're just going to make all of our communities private so no one can see them. We're basically going to take all of our communities and just kind of take them offline. And so Reddit, which is all about having all this content that people can access and Google search engines can access, is suddenly losing all this traffic because all of their minions who are working for free have had it. And so they're all just turning all their communities into private mode as a way of protest. And basically they're shutting down the site. And so it's just great to see all the little people rising up against the big guy and giving them a what for. And they're kind of winning. And that's just kind of hilarious. Folks, the best protests are where you realize you have the power and you utilize that power in a creative way. That you got to play it like chess, folks. Now, we could all go down the street and we can protest the things that we don't like, but the people in power, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care what you do on the street, chanting or whatever. If you come to Washington, D.C., like the March for Life is done, Congress would just go out of session for the March for Life and everyone would just leave town. And that's what they've been doing for like 30 years. The March for Life would come to town and all congressmen and all the congresswomen would be back in their districts. They would just avoid the protesters. They know that after one day, all these protesters will be gone. All these undesirables, all these unwashed masses will leave. And folks, protesting in the streets really doesn't do all that much. You got to find where you have the power and you need to exert that power. And that's where we really need to think about, where can we exert influence and power? The people that make these decisions and the people that are coming after us, how do we hit them right where it hurts? And hitting them in the universities, as Governor Abbott is doing, is a smart move, because the schools, the universities, the nonprofits out there, the unions, this is where the power base comes from for a lot of this woke stuff that's being shoved down this authoritarian stuff that's being jammed down our throats, right? So the DOJ is seeking a protection order against former President Trump. They are doing a couple things with this. They are not allowing him to have lawyers that he wants to represent him, only lawyers with security clearances. So basically, they're forcing him to use deep state lawyers, deep state approved lawyers, in order to defend him against these deep state allegations. And that is troubling indeed. He can't just bring in a wisecracking lawyer from the outside who's going to shake things up. He can't bring someone in straight from law school. He's got to bring someone in who has been through deep state interrogations, has been through work with some of these really classified stuff. And the people that are on that list are all deep state monsters. And that is terrible. Also, they're putting a gag order on President Trump, so he can't say certain things about out in public. He can't share with us what is going on with his case. He can't defend himself publicly, and that is truly troubling as well. Moving over to Obama, because he's still around apparently. Former President Obama is now coming out in favor of the digital fingerprints. This is something that we need to be watching out for, folks. This is really serious. The idea is that now we're not really anonymous on the internet as it is, okay? Search engines and other places that have cookies on our browsers and stuff like that can kind of track who we are and what we're doing. But what they want to do is they want to make it so that you basically have to log in with your unique credentials every time you access the internet. You go to the library, you use your cell phone, you go to a device, you have to log into the internet with your credentials so that at every step of the way, they know exactly who's using this. There's no question of who's using this. If you have a family and a number of people use your computer, they want you to have to log in personally so that they can know for sure who did it, who looked up that information, who Googled how to do this or that, who went and learned about canning vegetables, because those people are terrorists. And Obama has come out in support of this. He's one of the biggest profile people who has come out in support of this. Europe is really pushing this. Canada is really pushing this. So it kind of tells you where that's kind of going. And if you haven't already heard, major storms, particularly in the Texas area, there was a tornado that killed 3 people and injured another 75. Now that's the minimums. I'm not sure what the newest updates are on that, but I know that disaster relief teams are already there. I work with the Southern Baptist disaster relief teams, and so that's who I go through. And I'm all the way up here in Pennsylvania, so I know there's a lot of disaster relief teams between me and there. And so Pennsylvania has not been requested to come and assist with that. But I know Bear Independent with his Grindstone Ministries is down there already. So if you want to get footage on that and see where you might be able to help directly, if you don't have a church organization or something like that you work with, Grindstone Ministries, Bear Independent is already out there, and you can go check his channel to see information about that. Give him a plug out for that. So federal judge, this is an interesting story here. Federal judge blocks Seattle police from arresting vandals. And it says here's a mind-numbing reason. And the mind-numbing reason is this, that their graffiti is protected First Amendment speech. That's right. Graffiti is First Amendment speech protected by law, but your talking on YouTube is not. Your comments on YouTube, your comments on Twitter are not protected First Amendment speech. But if you want to go spray paint that on Google's headquarters, apparently that is protected speech. Oh, how ironic and how upside down the whole world is, isn't it? If you want to just talk about the truth, you're not allowed to do that. But if you want to go vandalize something, you are allowed to do that. Appreciate you guys all stopping by. The poplarreport.com is a great resource, and it's going to become a better resource as we move forward. We've got some big plans to add some additional pages onto this, onto the poplarreport.com. Thinking about adding on like links to videos. So it won't be just to my videos, but it'll be to other preparedness and other truth-speaking videos, including links to people who have been booted off YouTube. So that's exciting. We're also going to be doing a blog, so we're going to actually start writing our own articles. And so that's something to look forward to as well. And hopefully going to be putting up things like some of the reports and stuff like that we do here, put those up on as written resources too, so that people can access that. We want to help people get more connected with each other and to get connected with good information that is being blocked by the mainstream media. If you like all that, please check out the website. Check us out on Twitter and start following along the Poplar Report over on Twitter. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel here on YouTube. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys later, but there's another video right here that you might want to check out. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you some other time. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.